So what's up? I'm here with Tom Morello,
Hello, how are you?
and we are at a hotel in. Are we in Beverly Hills, Hollywood?
Los Angeles.
We're in Los
Kind of
Angeles.
swanky joint here.
Yeah. How'd you get into guitar?
I enjoyed the heavy metal guitar playing of groups like Kiss and Alice Cooper and Sabbath, but it seemed very difficult to do. You needed to, like, I was a kid in a basement in Illinois, and I had a guitar, and I did not seem like my playing skill or my lifestyle had anything in common with Jimmy Page. And then I got the Sex Pistols cassette tape, and then it was all over. And within 24 hours of listening to the Sex Pistols, I was in a band without knowing how to play a single chord on the guitar.
Did anyone in the band know how to play anything?
Not so much. It was like a.
So it was kind of like the Sex Pistols.
Exactly. It felt like this is music that's very powerful, yet maybe doable later this afternoon.
Yeah.
One of the guys in that band, though, was Adam Jones from Tool, who was the bass player in my high school band. Go on, man.
John Dale, cameraman, is here.
Hey,
Hello.
here we are.
There he is.
Don't film me, I'm the cameraman.
Oh, there you go. Now you're filming us.
Yeah.
So once you really got into it, like,
Yep.
who was your favorite guitarist?
It was then. You know, on the one hand, I liked the punk rock guitar players. Like Joe Strummer was probably my favorite guitarist, even though he wasn't much of a technical guitar player.
And then how do you get to Rage from there?
Well, when I graduated from college, I packed up my Chevrolet Astro van and just moved to Hollywood. And some thought perhaps I was making poor use of my Ivy League degree, but my family was supportive, and I moved out here. And the idea was to join a spandex-clad metal band that somehow I was going to inject with radical politics and some rapping. And in 1986, when I moved to Hollywood, that didn't seem like it was going to be a possibility. But from 86 to 91, I suffered and struggled through a lot of really awful bands that I'm glad there was not YouTube footage of now. And then one of those bands, which was not an awful band, it was actually a pretty decent band, on Geffen Records, called Lock Up, which is kind of a little bit like that band Living Colour. And we got dropped from the label, and I vowed at that point that I had no interest in like making records or having songs on the radio or being successful as it's sort of defined by folks, and just wrote music that I liked, found some like-minded folks, and that turned out to be Rage Against the Machine.
You probably don't know this, but we actually did a tour together in Australia in the 90s.
Sure. Big day out. I remember while we were playing from the stage, I remember seeing you swooping around.
Right. So there was
Off stage, right?
Way off there, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And at that time, not a lot of people were doing skate tours, so we felt pretty lucky that we got to do that because it was a huge crowd by default. For
Right.
And then there was an end of tour party, and we're all on this bus going to the beach, and Tim and Zach both introduced themselves to me, and they said, "Hey, we were there at the last day of Whittier Skate Park, which is a pretty famous skate park, and one of the last cement parks in the 80s.
They've told me the story.
And they said, you taught us layback airs, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
They're not kidding.
I mean, there was literally less than 20 people at the skate park the last day.
Right.
And these two guys were, and I was really impressed.
Yeah.
They were that into skating.
They're skaters, yeah. Zach's actually
sure.
really good. Tim's more water surfer dude, but Zach's a pretty excellent skater. Yeah.
I was always curious, what did you think of being offered to be a Guitar Hero?
Well, at the time, when I first got offered to be a Guitar Hero, it wasn't a big deal. It just was one of the things that came across my desk on a particular day. And a lot of video game stuff comes up, and I originally just said no. My manager was like, my kid plays that all the time. That's going to be a cool thing to do. And I'm like, what do I got to do? And they're like, one afternoon you got to go stand in the San Fernando Valley in like a cat suit with a bunch of little white balls on it. I'm like, that sounds horrible. The answer's still no.
That's funny.
You just talked me out of it.
I've had to do that a number of times.
Oh my gosh! So finally, he prevailed upon me to go stand in the cat suit, and then it went on to be, like one of the biggest video games of all time. But the thing I have to put up with too, and I don't know if this happens in your video game excursions, but every single day, I can be on an airplane, I can be in Cairo. Some dude will come up to me and go, dude, I kicked your ass at Guitar Hero. I'm like, it's a video game. You should go outside into the world more. It's possible I could kick your ass at Ms. Pac-Man, but I wouldn't yell it in an airport. It's like...
How did you, I mean, the sounds that you make, honestly, the sounds you make in guitar are so identifiable that it's you. How did you come up with your own sound?
I started, part of it was when I was practicing like 8 hours a day, trying to play like Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen. At the time, the cool guitar to have, the Eddie Van Halen guitar was a guitar with one volume knob. I don't know if you remember this, but there was like the guitar that anyone who wanted to shred had that guitar. I didn't have that guitar. I had a guitar that had a whole bunch of knobs, like super uncool Scorpions guitar. But the one thing that guitar had was it had like a toggle switch, and I won't bore you, but it had the thing on it that allowed me to eventually do a thing that sounds like scratching. And so I practiced I took the stuff that I was saddled with this not cool guitar and tried to make it into music.
How did Street Sweeper come?
Street Sweeper, when Audioslave broke up, I'd known Boots for a long time. Since 2003, we've been playing shows together, often in an acoustic context. I handed him a cassette tape and said, we're in a band together. It's called Street Sweeper Social Club. It's going to be revolutionary party jams. Here's a cassette tape with 20 song ideas. That's your homework. Go. I didn't ask him, just told him. Dismissed him, he went back to Oakland and wrote the songs. He still hasn't said yes. He's just kind of in it for the free catering.
I appreciate you making time.
It's my pleasure.
And it was good to bump into you. We bumped into each other at a barbecue at John Favreau's house of all places.
Yeah.
Which he's doing
the
again.
stars align. Yes, it's a fine barbecue. It's a fine barbecue.
Yeah. And thanks for introducing me to this.
It's a fine
scotch.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salute.